All right. Move that. Just tweet this out and then we will go. I don't know why it's like this. It's being stupid. We'll start in just a second. All right. I gotta close YouTube. It's just being stupid. There we go. All right. 0, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Yeah, we're live. We're live. Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get everything shared out there. Yeah, we are live. This slate is kind of, I don't know, I feel like we're focusing on a few games on this slate. Like, I don't have a whole lot of interest in Pittsburgh, Washington. There's not a whole lot of interest in New England, Chicago. There's a couple plays there as well, but Denver, KC, not really interested in. Like Tennessee, Chargers, like there's some plays, right? Like Justin Herbert's there, J.K. Dobbins is playable, but Tennessee, like Pollard's kind of not playable. Yeah, I've watched bits and pieces of this game. It hasn't looked good. Philly, Dallas. I mean, you get Micah Parsons back for Dallas, but Philly's fully hell, so Philly, should. The Jets Arizona game could be good if Arizona's offense is good. I think that one could be a really nice one. San Fran, Tampa Bay would be good if Godwin and Evans were there, but I mean Baker's still slinging it. Buffalo, Indy's kind of banged up on Buffalo's side, so no, Lattimore is inactive. Lattimore is not playing in the game. So it's still the Washington, but you go and look like when I'll bring it up right now. You go look at Washington's defense. 3 games this season over 200 yards. You kind of look at who they played, though. They played the Giants. They played Arizona. They played Cleveland. They played Carolina. They played Chicago. They played the Giants again. So all those teams didn't get over. But, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. You get Pittsburgh. I just don't know how to really evaluate Pittsburgh's team too much. But Pittsburgh's there. So, going over quarterbacks, like I think you can go Jalen Hurts today, if you can afford. There's not a whole lot of value, especially at running back. I don't think there's much of any value at running back this week, which sucks. Luckily for wide receiver, like you don't need to play any of these guys. If you want to go Darnold and Justin Jefferson, go for it. But I don't think you need to pay for any of these expensive wide receivers, which is nice. So you can pay for Jalen Hurts. You just pivot at wide receiver. I think that's a good way to go. I like Kirk Cousins secretly. Like, The defense for New Orleans has been bad. We can go to it. Like, the defense has been bad. You kind of look at who they played, and besides the point, like, they played Carolina, they played the Chargers, where they got pretty screwed up, but they've been giving up 20 plus points lately. Now they're without 3 corners. Like, Saints are without 3 corners, so I do like Kirk Cousins on this slate. I New Orleans is just so banged up. Like, it's going to be Kamara, Taysom Hill, pretty much. Deciding between Rodgers and Purdy. It's tough because I like both offenses, right? I like the Jets offense. I like Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and Adams. I like Breece Hall in that game a lot too. So, like, do you go Breece or do you go for the passing game? In the 49ers, I saw CMC's approximately 20 snaps, I think it was. Of around 20 touches. So, I mean, that's still a lot. 20 touches is still a lot. Like, if you were to tell me that a running back was going to get guaranteed 20 touches, then yeah, especially Christian McCaffrey. Like, $8K Christian McCaffrey is ridiculously cheap. So, I think you can go both offenses in this one. You just kind of tackle which, who you want to get, if you want to get the running or passing. But I do like Brock Purdy a lot. I think it's a safer play. Kind of look at where his fantasy points have been so far this season. 10 against the Jets, but they scored 32 points in that one. He just didn't throw a touchdown. But he's thrown over 200 yards every game. So I think Brock Purdy is very playable. Sam Darnold's very safe at 6,200 as well. I just kind of worry about how they play their offense. But their offense, pretty much starts off hot. But same thing. Look at some of the defenses they played. Played a very, I'd say, a bad Detroit secondary. Rams bad secondary, Colts bad secondary. Now you're facing a Jacksonville bad secondary. So I think Sam Darnold, you could go there as well. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, if you need to save salary and you want to, pay up for Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams, or go both, like, that's a very easy decision to make. Kind of saw where they were at last week. So, a lot of people like Justin Herbert today. It's not that I don't like Justin Herbert, because he's been slinging the ball quite a bit. And you look at some of the defenses, Cleveland's defense, who's been underperforming, but still there. I mentioned Saints defense is bad. Had the game against Arizona, still gets 17 points. And then against Denver still gets 13. So I think it's pretty much because of the salary, right? If you get a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who's 5,200 and all he needs is 16 points, which is what, pretty much maybe 2 touchdowns or a touchdown and 200 something yards, 250. Like, it's possible, like, that scenario. Yeah, Aaron Jones is going to be probably the highest owned running back on the slate, if I had to guess. He's just, first price point in that game script, it's very nice. I think we're not, so Aaron Jones should be the number 1 owned running back, if I had to guess. And then you're going to see a combination of Alvin Kamara, Bijan, Breece Hall, and Jonathan Taylor. Those guys kind of mixed in. If you wanted to go cheaper, DeAndre Swift, 6,500. Or Austin Eckler, again, 5,800 against Pittsburgh. So if you wanted to go a cheaper route, you can definitely go the cheaper route and go Eckler, Swift, if you wanted a, balanced build. But still, Aaron Jones is just going to be so popular, it's going to be hard to not play him. Wide receiver, like, pay up wise, if you want to go, you're taking Rodgers, you could go Adams, Wilson on this slate. I think it's possible if you're going that route. We'll talk about shortly. I mean, I've talked about it in the cash tournament videos, but Deebo Samuel, 6,900, I think is in a great spot. George Pickens is in a pretty good spot against Washington. Drake London continues to be a cash play against pretty much everybody. Week 4, 12 points. I'm skeptical because of the injury. I think Marvin Harrison for tournaments is way too cheap. The output hasn't been the greatest. Clearly, the last 5 weeks he's had 1 game above 10 points. The other ones have been duds. So It is a tough matchup, but hit first price point, I think it's definitely worth taking in tournaments. But kind of where we're at for cash is Josh Downs 6,200 against Buffalo, and now Khalil Shakir 6K against Indy. These two wide receivers are going to be probably two of the highest owned wide receivers. Shakir, no Coleman, no Cooper, pretty good matchup against Indy, so he's pretty much, I don't want to say a lock, because no one's ever a lock, but there's a pretty good chance he's over 60% owned on this slate. Josh Downs should be decently owned, just because his numbers versus zone coverage, they're at home. If Buffalo's offense does what they do, Joe Flacco's going to sling it, so you could go the Ladd McConkey route. I don't think you need to on this slate. Kevin Ridley is a good run back piece if you wanted to stack the Chargers and you go Herbert McConkey. Kevin Ridley, I think, is a decent spot. Not great, but playable. And then DeAndre Hopkins, 5,300 is probably the other one. Just doesn't get price adjusted because of the Monday night game. So luck out on that. If you wanted to go cheap there against Denver, you could go there. Obviously, 8 for 86 and 2 touchdowns against that team. Going down, Juwan Jennings, 5,100 is playable on this slate. Just getting any exposure in that San Fran game. You want either Purdy in another, maybe go the CMC route. You could have Debo, Kittle, Juwan Jennings without Purdy. I think that's playable as well. How did I like Tyrone Tracy? I bet his anytime touchdown would hit, and then I have him over 100 plus yards. So Tyrone Tracy, I'm not watching the game currently, but was watching before we went live, and I think it was at 89 or something. So he was pretty damn close to 100. I'm going to throw out Demario Douglas against the Bears. It's not great. He's going to see Kyler Gordon, but I mean, his target share is just pretty ridiculous on this one. It's not great, but for the price point, his target share is nice. Noah Brown also there, 4,300. Sterling Shepard at 4,100, playable, 100% there. And then pretty much the only other wide receivers, Adonai Mitchell at 3,400. So if you wanted to go the heavy stack somewhere, like you're paying up at the quarterback, paying up at running backs, paying up for maybe a wide receiver, he's definitely a punt option worth taking. And then moving on to tight ends. Tight ends is this is pretty much a pay up at tight end week. I would go Garrett. I think it's slightly better for Garrett Wilson in this one. So I'd lean Garrett Wilson. Tight ends, you could play Kelsey, you could play Kittle, you could play Otten, you could play Kincaid, you could play Pitts, you could play Hawkinson, you could play Goddard, you could play Kmet. There's a lot of tight ends, but you're paying a higher one. If you want to go cheaper, I will mention two names. Taysom Hill, 4K against Atlanta. Hunter Henry, 3,900 against the Bears. I'll throw out Juwan Johnson just because of what Atlanta does to tight ends. Will Disley, I guess people are going to be on him again at 3,100. So getting that as well. So Brian Thomas healthy, Trevor Lawrence out. I mean, kind of knew that going into it. Where are we at with the game? Daniel Jones, 71 passing yards, 9 of 18. Tyron Tracy, 85 rushing. So I need Tyron Tracy to get me 16 more yards. He already got the touchdown for me. They're just not. Malik Neighbors has got 2 receptions in that one. Jalen Coker doing his thing. Chuba Hubbard, 19 for 138. 3 receptions, 14. So he's got 20. Chuba Hubbard's got 23 points. If you're playing on DraftKings, 26. So Chuba Hubbard having a good game there. That's crazy. So yeah, anyone, any games or any players you guys want me to go over? Not, we can end it here. Let you guys go on to making your lines and hopefully having a good DFS, man. I'll tell you what, these quarterbacks are just irritating the hell out of me every week. So I'm hoping I get just a good performance out of my quarterback. I just want a good performance, right? I've just been very, very, I won't say unlucky. I've been very bad at picking quarterbacks lately. Nico Collins for tonight. I took the over as soon as I heard that Nico Collins is in that game. As soon as I heard that Nico Collins is in that game, I bet the over. Jameson Williams back, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. That game should be a back and forth one. I will mention there's been two things that have irritated me about this DFS season. Is one, I will say I don't know, for whatever reason, somebody decided at FanDuel to put the Sunday night games in the main slate. As far as I've been doing DFS, and I've been doing it for, I think, 6 years now, 6 years that I've been doing DFS on DraftKings and FanDuel, that I can remember. I mean, if I'm wrong, but they've never put the Sunday night games until this late. Like, there's been, I think, maybe one or two instances of them putting that Sunday night game in. I think maybe because it was flexed, the game was flexed or something like that. But like, I feel bad for people that consistently play FanDuel. They should not have the Sunday. No one wants to have that Sunday night game in. I would rather play showdown lines than have a Sunday night game in, because Nico Collins isn't 100%, right? But he's a good play against Detroit. Like, are you willing to take that risk? No. That's irritated me. So that's number one, is FanDuel putting the Sunday night slate, or the Sunday night game, on the main slate. That's irritated the hell out of me. The other thing is DraftKings prices. They don't like us to have fun with values. So like, if you've been playing, DraftKings, starting quarterbacks like 4,800 is pretty much where we go. Last week we had two quarterbacks at 4,500 and 4,400. Like for instance, I'll go here, right? Devontae Smith. They were accounting for AJ Brown to be out. I don't want to play Devontae Smith at 7,800. That's not his price point. That is not Devontae Smith's price point. Devontae Smith is good. I'm not discrediting Devontae Smith. At peak, he should be 7,200 to 7,300. He's 7,800. I would rather just pay up for AJ Brown 400 more, or avoid them at all. Mike Williams season, I don't know. My issue with Mike Williams getting traded to Pittsburgh is you have the same receiver twice. Mike Williams is a big-bodied 50-50 wide receiver. You know who else is a big-bodied 50-50 wide receiver? George Pickens. They traded for, and no offense to Mike Williams, a lesser version of George Pickens, right? Mike Williams, just too many injuries throughout his career. If he could have stayed healthy, he'd probably be a very talked-about wide receiver. He's good. I don't get the decision to basically trade for another receiver that's the same as what you have. There were other options. I would rather have Adam Thielen in that offense than Mike Williams. So that's pretty much it. Like the wide receiver, like the prices, right? Grendo, if for whatever reason, CMC and Mason were both out, Grendo was 6,400. Like, what was it? I think against Kansas City, Jordan Mason was expected out or something like that, and they priced him at they priced him at 6,600. That was nice. But yeah, I mean, why are we getting Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Jalen Warren above someone like Tyler Algier? I love, like, Tyler Algier has some ceiling. He has some ceiling in that Atlanta offense. But like, why are we overpricing? Like Bucky Irving, that makes sense, 5,700. But why is Braylon Allen 5,500 when he hasn't done anything? He's went up in price. He had one good game in the last, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and he's 5,500. Like, you don't want to play guys at that price point. So, that's been my 2 complaints. Sorry, my 2 things with the DFS so far this season. So, I not really much more to talk about. It's a smaller slate, some uglier games. Cash kind of seems pretty clear of, the player pool is not exactly who you're going for because everyone's going to be different, but the player pools are, I think, pretty consistent of who we get. On the line. I would go Purdy. On that. So, gonna end it there. If you guys have any more questions or anything, feel free to comment. If you guys want to join our Discord, you guys can always reach out through that as well. Have the website. Yeah, I think Stroud's still a good play tonight, regardless if Nico's in or not. Cooper Rush, not against Philly. Philly's defense has been good. Vic Fangio has been a really good defensive coordinator, and that Philly team looks a lot different than they have in years past. So, yeah, I'm kind of avoiding Cooper Rush. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll have a video going out tomorrow. Be live again next Sunday to go over that slate. So, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.